1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi everyone, this is Jewish Talk, coming to you from Nassau Community College on 90.3 WHPC, also streaming on the iHeart and the iTunes app. This program is later archived on Spreaker.com. So hi there, my name is Rabbi Perl. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This all depends on when you are listening and joining us, but whatever it is, you are welcome. And today we're going to discuss several topics that relate to the current time and a bigger vision in life. And let's begin with this following question. Do you have a vision of your life? Do you only see things in front of you, or can you also see the big picture? On the other hand, conversely, do you only see the big picture and don't know how to have it inform the small pixels? One of the greatest challenges in life is not to be distracted by the moment and by the details and see the broader panorama and context, and then to ensure that the vision informs the details. But vision is something we often take for granted, especially when it comes to the vision of our lives, how we envision our mission in this world, our reason for being, the purpose of our existence. We just concluded Passover, and key coming away from Passover, from Pesach, is Passover conveys to us a 2020 vision of the Creator of the world. You see, Passover is an 8-day festival with 2 opening and 2 closing days of heightened observance and commemoration. The first days of Passover focus primarily on the first redemption, the liberation of the Jewish people from Egypt some 3,300 years ago. While the last days of Passover, which was last Shabbos and Sunday, highlighted the final redemption, the future era of divine goodness and perfection heralded by Mashiach. So during Passover, we become part of this history. We eat it, we live it, we internalize it, we see ourselves as part of a long chain of eternity. On a lighter note, 2 really octogenarians, Judith and Gertrude, meet by chance at a deli in Miami Beach. And the first thing they say is, "Where's the ketchup? What's going on over here? No, not enough ketchup. I gotta go home with my ketchup." So Gertrude takes a look at Judith and says, "I see you just bought yourself a new pair of glasses." "That's very observant of you, Gertrude," says Judith. "Yes, I've just picked up them from my optician. In fact, they are the 3rd pair of glasses I now carry around with me." "Oy vey," says Gertrude. "A 3rd pair? Why do you need to carry on so many pairs of glasses?" "Believe me, Gertrude, I need this 3rd pair. 1 pair I use to see long distances, because I'm nearsighted. Another pair I use to see things close to me, because I'm farsighted." And interrupts in the impatient Gertrude, "So what's the 3rd pair for? What do you need a 3rd pair for?" So Judith answers, "The 3rd pair of glasses is going to help me find the other 2. You see, this is certainly true of our physical vision, what we see with our eyes, but perhaps it is even truer when it comes to the vision of our lives. How we envision our mission in this world, our reason for being, and the purpose of our existence. A vision of life requires both nearsightedness and farsighted glasses. Often, we need that 3rd pair of glasses to remind us that the 2 pairs exist and help us discover them. For us, that 3rd pair of glasses is exactly what we celebrated on Passover. This 2020 2020 vision of the past and the future. Now, during these days that connects the holiday of Passover with one of Judaism's greatest secrets, which is the holiday of Shavuos, where the Torah was given at Mount Sinai. In biblical times, during the days of the Holy Temple, there was a special barley offering brought on the second day of Passover, and it was called Omer. Omer is not the name of a congresswoman, but Omer literally means sheaf. And in practical terms, by bringing this barley, this was called the Omer. So starting on the second day of Passover, the Torah tells us there was a mitzvah to count the Omer, the 50 days leading up to Shavuos. And this is an important period of growth and introspection. As I said, Passover leads to the holiday of Shavuos, which arrives 50 days later. Shavuos is the day when the Jewish people stood at Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. And it required this 7-week preparation period, which we are now going through on the Jewish calendar. The commentators say that we were freed from Egypt only in order to receive the Torah and to fulfill it. Therefore, we are commanded to count from the second day of Passover till the day that the Torah was given, to show how greatly and exciting we were to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai. So now, during this time, it's called Sephiras HaOmer. The Omer is counted every evening after nightfall, which is the start of the Jewish day. If a person neglected to count the Omer one evening, of course, he counts it the following day, but without a blessing. So we are now counting the Omer. The Talmud also tells us that Rabbi Akiva, the famous Rabbi Akiva, had 24,000 students who tragically died during this Omer period. And the reason is because they did not treat each other with sufficient respect. Therefore, for 33 days from Passover until Lag BaOmer, we observe certain signs of mourning. And you may notice that typically you would not hear about weddings going on during this time, not listening to instrumental music, either live or recorded. Vocal music is permitted, by the way. And also, we do not take haircuts unless for business purposes. I'm only sharing this with you because it actually introduces a very broader picture of what the message of this counting of the Omer. Basically, every single day we make a blessing and we count the day, what that day is. So on Friday was the 12th, yesterday on the Sabbath was the 13th, and today is the 14th day of the counting. So we've now completed the first 2 weeks of the counting up to Shavuos at Mount Sinai. So, having entered the counting of the Omer, connecting from Passover to the holiday of Shavuos, and these are days that we are instructed to count every night. But what does this counting actually achieve? Is a counted day any different from a regular day? And why would this mitzvah, just counting the days, be the one chosen to help lead us to Mount Sinai? And I thought about this, and I think there's a very powerful message. Time can stride into our present, but then vanishes into the horizon of history, having gained no significance at all. Empty, as we would say here, killed time. And worse, time can constrict and weigh us down with stress, with boredom, or despair. Waiting can be nothing more than a frustrating barrier to what we want in life, be it finding a spouse, a job, or attaining a life goal. We can get strapped and trapped within time. But it doesn't have to be that way. The very same time can arrive, and rather than be killed, worthless, empty, despair, we can be counted. We can be counted by us. The time, like we say, can I count on you? Right? The expression? During this time, we have been asked, can we count on you in your time? Counting means forging a consciousness, a mindful relationship with time and its moments. It's saying, I am choosing today, in place of living it passively. It enables even a difficult wait to become meaningful, because I receive what the present moment presents me with, and I acknowledge its potential for growth. As we count these 49 days, we are building this new relationship to time. That's how we ready our lives for this dedication of leaving Egypt on Passover and arriving at Mount Sinai on Shavuos. So in a sense, we can choose today in place of just living it passively. This approach is not only for older singles waiting for their soulmates or couples waiting to be blessed with children. It's for all of us. The very medium through which we experience life is time. Time is raw potential gifted to us to use for good things. Each day, a vessel waiting to be filled. When seen in this light, those tough times will all go through, do not need to invite frustration or despair. They're simply another opportunity, a chance to work on deepening our faith and in growing as a person, to be a mensch. Sometimes it may seem outwardly or in society's eyes that we are in transit, just waiting for that date, waiting for that child, waiting for that degree, waiting for that job. But in truth, the journey is never simply a stepping stone to something else. It carries the destination with him. Here, and only here, lies our mission of now. God loves us, and he has a plan for us at every stage of our lives, even the painful ones. He led us down to Egypt, not despite, but because of the challenges we would endure there, so that we could gain what we needed from that experience. Then, at precisely the right time, the Almighty led us out to receive the Torah. Both stages were essential as part of our journey towards Mount Sinai, going into Egypt and coming out of it. So the counting of the Omer is a time to recognize that we are not controlled by nature, luck, or statistics. We are always on a journey towards. Behind the scenes, God is gently leading us to exactly those situations that can bring us to our greatest potential. Every moment contains that cosmic journey, leaving the limitations represented by Egypt and journeying towards a divine connection, a journey towards eternity. So yes, every time in our lives has intrinsic value. In every place, growth can be found. Living with this philosophy is how we accumulate precious full days that we take with us forever. Just like Abraham, our forefather, the Torah describes him as Bol Bayomim, which translates he arrived with his days. Doesn't he just simply arrive with his passport or his bagels? He arrived with his days. We need to also remember that in life, it's never all or nothing. Days that pass without being used to the maximum don't limit the new vessel of today, which is always ripe to be filled with good and saved for eternity. The first mitzvah we received was sanctifying the new moon. That's the first mitzvah, the first commandment given to a people, the freed people coming out of Egypt, was to sanctify the new moon. In fact, the Jewish new month of Iyar begins this week, on Monday and on Tuesday. Why would that be the first mitzvah? There are so many, the 613 many mitzvahs. What was the first thing that we must follow and sanctify a new month? The answer is very simple. Break free. Take charge of your life by taking the reins of time. Bring time into a realm of your awareness instead of letting it just slip by. Use its seconds, its minutes, its hours, its days for spiritual elevation instead of being enslaved under them. Where does this process start? With a choice to make this moment matter. So therefore, today, I'm happy to be back with you, for all of us to continue to share. And thank you to the station that despite the COVID, despite all the limitations, this great station just keeps on going. Reminding us we all have abilities, especially during these days of Omer. We need never actually be a victim of time. On the contrary, we have the power to harness time for productive purposes and elevate it, filling our days meaningful. We can strive to find and embrace God's plan for this stage of our lives every moment. Time, if we choose to make it so, can truly count. Now, here's another important subject. When we look at the world and every moment of our life with meaning, we can also apply this to another interesting quandary, let's say, we may have. You know, many people, let's be honest, we all have parts of Judaism that we prefer more than others. We do certain rituals, practices, or customs because it excites us, while others, not so much. We kind of, you know what I tell you, you know what happens. So if your answer to this question is that there are things that we do prefer and things that you may not, then the following question comes up. What do you do about those unexciting parts? What happens when you don't have an emotionally satisfying explanation for why you must do this or can't do that? So there are different ways of approaching this. And if I had to guess, I would split them into two general camps. One person rejects them. Forget about it. I have no passion to this. It means nothing to me. It's beyond me. I'm not into that. Forget about it, as we would say in Brooklyn. Another perspective is, I'll accept it. So those who simply reject it means they're disinterested, uninspired, or just plain turned off. So they turn their backs onto what they don't like and focus on the things that they do like. After all, Jewish practice is quite vast, so they'll make do with the fun stuff. The second group who, okay, I gotta do it, I accept it. This latter camp shudders at the prospect, I would never outright reject it, yet still emotionally or intellectually is unable to fully embrace the entire package. Okay, they do it, they practice it, but it's kind of a begrudging acceptance, sort of an inner push. Just do it anyway, regardless of whether you like it or not. Now, is while admirable, it's not exactly the ideal way of approaching things. So what you should do about those parts of Judaism that you so far find uninteresting or uninspiring? Rejection and forced acceptance both sound fairly bleak. So what's the solution? That's why, dear friends, you're paying big bucks to listen to me here this morning. There's a third way, of course. This third way is buried in interesting detail in a story retold in our Torah portion. The Jewish people find themselves finally constructing the tabernacles in the desert. The inauguration festival kicks off. It's a glorious day, the moment when God's holy presence is rested in this edifice. This is the famous Mishkan, and divine grace is felt after the catastrophe of the golden calf. Suddenly, on this tremendous day, boom, a tragedy happens. We all know what I'm talking about. Nadav and Avihu, the sons of Aaron, the high priest, get carried away with some spiritual ecstasy, and they offer up some illegitimate incense, leading to their demise. So during one of the most joyous moments of this newly experienced, two corpses lay on the holy site. Moses had to act quickly. They had to be removed. The corpse had to be removed. So Moses summons Mishal and Tzafim, who are the sons of Aaron's uncle Uziel, and says, please, carry them outside. And Rashi explains, as a person would say to his fellow when someone has died at a wedding festival, remove the deceased from before the bride so as not to disturb the joyous occasion. Now, that the corpses need to be removed seems reasonable enough. Our question today is, why was it that the people chosen to actually carry out these two bodies was Mishal and Elzaphan. Now these two individuals, they were cousins to the two men who died. That means they were Levites. Why would Moses ask Levites to carry out the task of removing the bodies? Coming in contact with dead bodies would render them impure, unable to re-enter, basically slamming the door on their ritual service for the next few days. Why would Moses deny them the opportunity to be part of this inaugural team of Levites on this very special day? Why couldn't he just give the job to the ordinary Israelites, who regardless were not serving in the temple at that particular time, or at any time? Wasn't their job. What's more, they were first cousins. Why would he choose such close kins to do such a ghastly job? So the answer is, my friends, by specifically choosing the Levites, and first cousins no less, Moses was broadcasting an important message about what it means to serve in the tabernacles. It's not only the glamorous jobs of singing, praying, and offering sacrifices. Rather, it's doing whatever's needed. Period. If that means removing corpses, well, then that's just as much of a form of a service as swaying in a long robe and singing, holy hymns. Mishal and Elzaphan, the two gentlemen, they carried the job without a word of dissent, which amplifies their very message. Just think about the conflicting emotions they must have been raging through their minds. Today was the day. What a special day. Finally, the nation has brought back God's grace and the divine presence in such a majestic structure. They were joyfully anticipating stepping into the role of their divine role of a Levite. How marvelous it must have been to be gifted with such a task. And yet, here they were. Uncle Moses pulls them aside and renders them undertakers, excluded from the festivities and relegated to tending to two corpses. And the corpses of whom are their own dear first cousins, no less. So while everybody else is singing and rejoicing, they were there with their departed cousins. So how could anyone undergo such an experience without a wee bit of resentment and reluctance? Not to mention grief. Yet, they did it nonetheless, without any fuss. So how could they do it? Because they understood that serving God has many formats. One moment you can be singing in the temple. The next moment you'll be removing a corpse to facilitate that singing. Doesn't matter. Whatever God throws at you, you do. If you like it, amazing. If not, well then, relish the opportunity to do something for Hashem, and not for yourself. This is a very important concept. There's a well-known Hasidic tale of two holy brothers, Rabbi Elimelech of Lizhensk and Rabbi Zusha of Annapolis. They were once thrown into a jail one night on some trumped-up charge. When they noticed an overflowing trash pail in the corner of the room, they realized they would not be able to pray, because it's forbidden to do so in the presence of such filth. Basically, it was the common, potty or toilet in this prison. So Rabbi Elimelech, one of the brothers, was distraught. His brother said to him, Elimelech, why are you down? Why are you so upset? He says, how can I can't pray. Look at all this dirt over here. So the brother said to him, what are you down for? The same God who instructs you to pray instructs you that you do not do in the presence of filth. So tonight, you're serving God by not praying. With that, the two brothers joined hands and burst into song and danced at their newfound opportunity for divine service. They understood the same thing Mishal and Elzaphan, these two cousins, did. God doesn't need you to serve him in one particular way. There are many ways. And if we treasure the being whom we serve, it really doesn't matter what specific method is on the menu for today. You may very well never understand why today's connection to God is through tending to crying children, and why tomorrow's calling is to help a random friend whose car's broken down. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that in the larger scheme of things, we're doing our part in fulfilling the Master's plan. So, again, dear friends, if you find yourself struggling to come to terms with various parts of Judaism, and if you're trying to appreciate why it's so important to do certain things, or why it's so wrong to do others, remember the noble acts of Mishal and Eltzaphan, along with those two dancing rabbis and the wastebasket. Everything is just another way to connect with God and do our part of the master plan. And what can be more divine than carrying out Hashem's master plan? And there is a quick story, I've mentioned it many times, is of a rabbi who's, after the war, the Holocaust, he finds himself in Australia. He's the rabbi for a group of Holocaust survivors there, small, down in Australia. And in the late 50s, he asked Rabbi Schneerson for permission to leave his community and spend the high holiday season with the Rebbe in Brooklyn. There are lots of people, the excitement, the camaraderie, old friends, the holiness of a large synagogue, and being with the Rebbe, a holy person. So he wanted permission to leave and come and spend the high holidays. And the Rebbe says, listen, if you leave Australia and come to Brooklyn, you're going to have a good time. You're going to be ecstatic, you're going to be elevated, you're going to be, wow. He says, but if you stay back home and make sure that those Holocaust survivors have a minyan and you inspire them, then God will have a good time. And that's the question I often ask myself. What are we on this world for? To have a good time or to give God a good time? So many times there are clear things that we have to do that bring pleasure to Hashem. And there are many things that we may not understand, may not have an excitement or a passion about, but at the end of the day, it's all part of that master plan of making this world, of elevating this world into an abode, a holy place where God, so to speak, can be revealed in the most beautiful way. And we can participate in that. So, as we come out from the week of Passover, I say welcome. Thank you again for joining us. Reminding ourselves of making every moment count. And that indeed we have a mitzvah, as I discussed, the counting of the Omer, the counting of each day. We make every day count. We can actually can't expand the 60 seconds to the minute or the 60 minutes to the hour, but what we do with the time, the quality of time, that's what makes the difference. So let us all enjoy successful time, making every moment count, and every opportunity that comes around, of course, is part of the bigger picture of the important mission that each and every one of us have. This is your host, Rabbi Perl, wishing you all the best.